Yeah, this is a very unique one. Weapons is a horror film. Unlike most horror films I've seen, the aesthetics are great. The first act is amazing, and then it regresses by, I'd say, the third act. So the movie's split into 5 acts, kind of like a Tarantino film. Each act, I should say, is centered on a character. And Act 1 is on Justine, played by Julia Garner. And what happens in the film is that Justine is teaching a class, and all the kids disappear except for one, little Alex. And the community, instead of asking where were the hall monitors, where was the security, where was the office staff, they all decide to have sort of a meeting held by the school's principal, played by Benedict Wong, and everyone pretty much just turns into a mob. And it's basically kind of like a glorified witch trial where there's going to be no convictions, and the school says that they brought Justine there to defend herself, but really we know they're there to pile her on her. And that's where the scariest parts of the movie come in. There's a great long take scene where Justine is walking through a liquor store and everyone's just giving her dirty looks because she's become like a leper in that society. And you kind of get the idea that her mind is constantly racing, and and she can't escape from the horror that's going on around her. And it's emblematic of real life, because when things are going on with us or just our lives in general, the camera doesn't cut. It's always there. We can't escape from it. By the time we get into Alan Adrich, I don't know how to say his name, the guy who played young Han Solo, Alan Eidenreich, whatever, when we get to his character, who's like the local cop investigating the disappearance of the kids, the movie goes from this very dark psychological film to like this goofy comedy. And then when we get to the third act, it turns into like 28 Days Later with like running infected people. And when we find out what happens to the kids, it's kind of like, it just falls into this typical horror conventions that is really unfortunate, because that first act is incredible. The first act is like a 4-star film. But when you get to like the third act, it's like a 3-star film, because it's still effective. The way Zach Gregor, I think his name is, or something like that. Zach Kreger, I think. The way he utilizes the camera, does the long takes, has low lighting, builds suspense, has actually effective jump scares, is something that you don't see in most horror films, and he does a great job at it. I just wish the movie was more intelligent towards the end, but I still liked it, so don't pile on me. I still like the film, but it went from like a 4-star film to a 3-star film. Or Guinness's, which is the way I rate it. So check out my full written review at ypareviews.com. And yeah, you'll probably hate me for not loving Weapons, but come on, don't hate someone just because they don't agree with you. Okay, thanks.